Oh, snap. What's going on, folks? How you doing? This is Hex with, Ritual Madness Podcast. It's Friday. Hope you guys had a great week. I know it's starting to get nice here in the Twin Cities, so I'm happy. I got a little motorcycle action yesterday. Rode in like 50 degrees, and my forehead was fucking bumping. It's freezing. Do me a favor. Hey, you're needing to check out Anti-Broadcasting Incorporated's custom screen printing. That's antibroadcasting@gmail.com, or hit them up, 612-836-9488. I can't say enough good things about these guys. They've done a ton of work for a bunch of bands around the nation, man. They've got fantastic turnaround, fantastic quality stuff. If you're looking to get some screen printing done, hit those guys up. If you're looking to get some tattoo work done, look up Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective over in Minneapolis at 612-353-4755. That's lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. They've got a bunch of great artists over there. I know they've got a bunch of apprentice stuff over there too. So good people, man, and they've always helped us out with all of their with all of our like benefits and things like that. They're always willing to donate gift cards and things like that. So give them back some love. Go check them out. Again, that's Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, 612-353-4755, or lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. This week, my special guest is David Gregor from Morta Skuld, Midwest band out of Milwaukee, and they've been around a long time. I seen these cats when I was a kid, for God's sakes. Now, hey Dave, we got to be roughly around the same age, correct? How old are you, buddy?
I am 54.
54, yeah. Yep. You're just a little older than I am, and I know I've seen you guys play. Now, how many Metal Fest did you guys do back in the day?
Oh man, it's funny over here. Well, I should say over here.
Yeah.
I have them hanging. I have them hanging. I probably go count them, but off the top of my head, at least 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least, and, that was like a yearly ritual for us, and that was, I love those. I really love those. I miss the whole going to the hotel and just like, hanging out. I remember one year it was like Cannibal Corpse, Malevolent Creation, Atheist. Everybody was on the same floor, and it was just so cool going from one room to, and you're,
yeah.
That was just a blast. That was really, really good times.
Hell yeah. So I guess I'll start from the very beginning, man. I like to do this on the podcast and ask the guests, like when you were a kid, what type of stuff were your folks listening to? What musically was going on in your household as a kid?
Well, my mom was a single parent, so like my dad, I have no idea if he even listens or what. Never met the guy.
Yeah.
But my mom always had not that how to say this, but she'd always have like Supertramp on.
Sure.
She loved the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack,
yeah.
So I heard that all the time. And it really kind of I was like, okay, I really wasn't a big fan. My stepdad, which I don't care about that dude either. Anyways, he was in my life for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
Not a very good time, but anyways, he gave me this cassette recorder. And I remember like, wow, a couple blank tapes, and I started off taping TV, the what do you call them, the intros to the TV shows like Starsky and Hutch,
sure.
Or Happy Days or whatever, their beginnings, their little, what do you call them, the little theme songs. So I taped these theme songs, and I just would listen to them. Like, go figure. And yeah, I know it was really bizarre. I'm like, I got this tape, and you hear the theme songs. And sometimes I'd have the microphone like taped to like the speaker of the TV, so I could like leave it on for like an hour and like tape all the dialogue.
Yeah.
And just after that, I started getting really interested in soundtracks. I saw this movie called The Black Hole.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
And I mean, back then you were like, woo, I mean, it's no Star Wars, but back then it was like, hey, and it got me real interested in soundtracks. So I bought that soundtrack, and then the very first Star Trek motion picture came out, and I got that soundtrack, and that really fascinated me. And then I think right around that time, I think The Elder by Kiss was out, and that was kind of a soundtrack too. So I kind of started off like real slowly, and then like I remember like I said, my mom, Supertramp, Barbra Streisand, basic stuff like that. But then I started getting into like sticks and
Now,
you know,
how did you hear about, was it just radio play, or was it,
yeah, yeah,
did you have,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I was like a freshman in high school, or might be younger than that. But I just remember going over to my next door neighbor's house. His mom was always gone, right? She'd disappear for a weekend with her boyfriend and leave this poor kid home alone. He was a brainiac. He never went anywhere. He would sit and like read the encyclopedias, all this stuff. So I would go over there. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, and this is like when Atari first came out. And so he'd be sitting there in front of the TV for sometimes like 2 days in a row just to beat this, and I'm like, whatever. So I'd go over there and I'd bring a vinyl. I'd throw a vinyl on the record player and I'd plug headphones in and I'd just sit in a rocking chair and kind of listen, watch him for a couple hours play until I got bored. And then I would go home and, so, yeah, I just sticks and, back in the day, sticks and Foreigner and, God, all the just some of, 48 special or 38 special, sorry, just all these bands just, and it was just an incredible time for music. And I just started kind of catching on slowly.
So what was the band? Can you think of what was some of the first heavy bands that kind of pushed you towards, like kind of molded you towards the heavy stuff? What was the first band that really like pushed you towards playing an instrument?
Well, I won't say this band was, I guess, paramount in me playing an instrument, but I always, the Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, I honestly, at the time that Blizzard came out, I had never even heard of Black Sabbath or Ozzy.
Right.
Didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I remember I was a freshman in high school and we were at this Pizza Hut, and a bunch of high school kids, and they're like, well, we're gonna, not that I'm proud of this, but we're gonna ditch, we're gonna eat, and then we're gonna, everybody's gonna bail. And I'm like, what, But while we're there, they had a what do you call it?
Like a jukebox?
Put in some music in a jukebox.
Yeah.
Thank you, jukebox. And my friend's like, hey, he put in the Black Sabbath, and I'm like, or maybe it was War Pigs or some Paranoid, something, one of the big hits. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And he's like, it's Ozzy. Who's Ozzy? He goes, you don't know Ozzy? He didn't play Blizzard of Oz. And then after that, I was like, dude, I want to be a singer. But the first band that really got me into heavy stuff was Metal Church.
Okay.
Those dudes, I was like, oh my God, I heard Gods of Wrath, and I literally was like, I have to get this record.
Right.
And then slowly, because back in the day, if you wanted to you had to look for stuff. It wasn't on the internet.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you couldn't just be like, hey, here's my band. So you'd be in the record stores every week, and you'd be searching through the vinyl. Hey, who's this? And I just kind of started going. We had like a local record place here that was very popular, and yeah, every couple of days I go in there and I look through records and just try to find what I just find stuff. And I really found a lot of bands like that nobody else in my school heard of, didn't know nothing. And like Robin McCulley's Grand Prix. No, who's Grand Prix? I'm like, dude, that record was fucking great, man. Samurai, So yeah. I just slowly, surely started getting into it. But I would have to say Randy Rhoads probably originally, I don't know any guitar player that can say he didn't inspire them on some level.
Right.
I think he was one of the biggies that I was like, oh, I really want to play like that. And unfortunately, I tried to play at an early age, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the coordination, or
sure.
I don't know what it was.
Sure. What now with that, getting started in finding the coordination. I mean, was it really like the music just started to really dig into you to where you were like, man, I really got to go back and I got to try again. I really want to do this thing.
Yeah. Like I said, I was probably 16 or something like that when I tried, and then I gave up. I was like, you suck. You can't do this. It's just not going to happen. So I actually went in the Marine Corps and thought, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I thought I could be a lifer. I can get out. I can retire in 20 years. I'll be 40, 41, 42 years old, and I'll be retired. I'll never have to work again. I thought, hey, great. I went in, and I really hated it. I just went in, and I was like, God, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. And music, just kind of, kept bugging me, and then I was stationed with another friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago from Pennsylvania, and him and I we kept in touch all these years, and he was a singer, and he loved music like I did. So, and I got stationed in Japan, him and I became like best friends, and it was just music, and that kind of really inspired me. But the next step was I came home and I made friends with was on leave and I came home with I got with the record store I was talking about, mainstream music.
Okay.
And this young kid, Scott Barter, a good friend of mine, worked there, and he had real long hair. He was short. Everybody thought he looked like Dan Spitz, which he did. Like, we would get stopped. Like, we'd be at local clubs, and they'd be like, "Oh, can we get your autograph?" And he'd be like, "Sure," you know. That was funny. But he really had a passion. I mean, he was auditioning for MOD at the time, and I remember just watching him, and I just remember just like, wow, this guy's got passion. Like, shit, you know, like, I want to do this, you know. So he's like, "Well, hey, let's build you a guitar," you know. And so it kind of built me a guitar. And let
me stop you. What guitar was it that you guys built together? What was that guitar?
It was, I guess we shouldn't say we built it from the ground up, but we took a BC Rich NJ Strat style.
Okay.
And we just literally put like, he was one of those guys, everything had to be customized, and me, I was so new, I didn't care. So we ripped everything, the pickups out, we ripped the tuners out, and we just, you know, put EMGs in, and, you know, and that's where that started me for EMGs, like, right there. I've been playing them ever since.
Right.
So he kind of got me real passionate about it. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was like, you know, I'm going to pursue this. I'm really going to pursue this. And I went to the conservatory of music up here, and I took it's not like one of those, it's not like an MIT or anything like that, you know. It's
right.
You know, it's a conservatory, but, you know, it's lessons, except for you're in a group of people.
Okay.
I met a really amazing guitar player, Troy Stetna, which is from Wisconsin here. Or not, I'm sorry, he's from Indiana, but he moved here, and I think now he's in Tennessee. But he has all the guitar instruction books and stuff, and he just really put guitar into more of a simple, like, you know, like, we were playing, like, I remember the first song, or like, just, that wasn't even a song, it was just a verse of Scorpions, na 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 na, you know. And I was like, okay, you know, and you have 5 guys, and we're all na 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 na, you know, we were, you know, playing it. And I took a rhythm course, so I don't know how many weeks that is, but a couple, you know, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks or something, took a rhythm course. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a rhythm 2, because he had rhythm 1, rhythm 2. And I took the rhythm 2, and he just like he just made it like simple. I was like, wow, I can actually play bar chords and, you know, and stuff. So I kind of came right out of the gate. I was like, as soon as I was done with rhythm 2, I'm like, I'm writing my own stuff. And I just started, and at the time I was in my very first band was a crossover hardcore band similar to MOD and stuff like that. And I just started writing. We just started writing. We were a bunch of young kids. I know Jason was in the band. He barely, you know, we really could barely play.
Yeah.
But I just kind of came right out like that. And I kind of, and there's good and there's bad about doing that. The good was I learned how to write. And you don't have anybody, you know, I don't have to rely on anybody writing for me if I want to write a song. So that was good. But and the bad part about it is I didn't learn anybody else's material. So I didn't really learn, like, oh, this is what, you know, everybody writes in patterns.
Sure. Yep.
And I didn't learn anybody else's patterns. I didn't learn anybody else's style. And I think sometimes when you see these like really virtuoso kind of guys, like along the line, they've played everybody else's music at that point. So I think there's good, and I'm not saying it makes anybody less talented if you don't know any cover songs or never played anybody's material, but I think it gives you a really good guideline as far as like, okay, this is the neck, this is where, oh yeah, okay, he does it, you know. And I think it opens up ideas for you to write too.
Yeah.
But I just started writing out the gate myself, and whether it was good or bad, you know, I'm here today. That's all I can tell you. So.
Right. Well, there's a lot of musicians that you know, they break themselves in by playing so many covers and so much stuff, and they never really break out of that. You know what I mean? There's people that are making tons and tons of money playing covers of other people's shit. You know, I think it takes a lot. It takes a lot of creative angst or creative development to be able to go, all right, I've learned enough to just go inside my own head, put some things together, and make them sound cool. You know what I mean? I think it's unadulterated when you're not taking from every single thing. Obviously, you're going to be listening to it and picking things up as you go, but not like sitting down. Like I used to know guitar players that'd be able to play, you know, hear it and learn the whole fucking album by ear. You know what I'm saying? Which is fantastic. But again, you hear some of their stuff and you can pick out those influences so much,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny you say that because the ear training thing is so important. I wish I was better at it. That's probably one of my weaknesses. I'll listen to some and I can maybe kind of, but some guys are like, hey, boom. And hey, it's right here. I'm like, oh, shit. I wish I could. But at the same point, I feel like it doesn't influence me then either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I feel when I write something, I know what I write is mine. And I know that I'm not like, I want to say copying anybody. I have a great respect for anybody that can play in front of people and stuff like that. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. The difference between a cover band guitarist and an original guitarist is kind of like what you said. Original guitarist has to be creative. And, you have to really dig deep inside. As where the cover band, he can listen, and if he's got a good ear, he knows, they're going to pull it off. They're going to pull it off.
Yep.
Which, like I said, I've seen some really good cover bands in my time. You know what I mean? That are just like, holy shit. Like you can tell they're putting the work in. But for me, I've always just tried to just kind of get what I feel. Matter of fact, I think when I listened to the Gory Departure demo, beginning of Gory Departure is a total death riff.
Okay.
Total. Like, I don't know how I didn't catch that back then.
Yeah.
But it's a total death riff. I mean, you listen, it sounds like something off of Spiritual Healing.
Right.
I think it kind of almost reminds me of Low Life a little bit. So, so there's a little bit of influence. And, that was the one problem when Jason O'Connell was in the band for years, he had a really good ear, very talented guy. But a lot of stuff he wrote, like for example, when people say to me like, "Hey, Dying Remains, it sounds really European," and how did you guys get it to sound like that? And I was like, well, that's because me and Jason were listening to Bolt Thrower and Carcass and Napalm Death and Suffocation, and we were listening. I'm sorry, that's a bad example of Suffocation because they're U.S., but Entombed and Grave and Dismembered and all those European bands. And what happened is when we went to the second record, I had left the band actually between the first and second record. So I left the band. They kind of went their way. I went my way. And they started writing newer material without me. I wasn't in the band. But then they tuned up. And when I came back in the band, I'm like, God, like As Humanity Fades, to me, kind of sounds a little bit Malevolent Creation-ish. But that's because that's what Dew was listening to.
Right.
So it can be good, it can be bad. Some people wear it on their sleeve and some don't. But that was the only thing I really kind of didn't like about that record was I felt some of the songs had a very – and I love Malevolent, please. Phil's an awesome guy. I love those guys. But, I mean, I didn't want to – we want to sound like us,
Yeah.
And that's when I came back to the band. I was like, oh, wow, you tuned up the D and, oh, man, now we're sounding, American, and I'm like, because I honestly didn't. I didn't want to sound American. I wanted to do another, like, European-style album. And so it was like, all right, well, what do I do, So I kind of came into the fold, and they had, like, shit. They had, like, 8 or 9 songs written, like, front to back, everything. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I'm like, some of it was really hard. Some of it was really hard for me. Because Jason and our styles were conflicting. When he first came into the band on Prolonging Agony, he didn't know how to speed pick at all.
Oh, I got
So I kind of had to I had to teach him how to speed pick, and he was very articulate, and he could, play Iron Maiden all day long and everything else. When it came to speed picking, he couldn't do it. So I kind of taught him, and he had to adapt to my style. And then on the second record, when I came back to the band, I had to adapt to his style.
Right. Which had probably grown by that time too, because you had showed him, an extra flavor to it, and he probably just ran with it, and you came back.
But a lot of his stuff was sounding like other band, like really sounding like other bands. So, I mean, so it is what it is. But yeah, he very talented guy, man. Just could hear. Start playing it,
Sure.
But that was a really hard record for me because I really didn't care for the songs as much.
Sure.
And I handpicked the songs that they had written that I would play, and then the songs I wouldn't play. And then and then we wrote I think 4 or 5 songs as a band.
Sure.
So on that record, I think there's 11 or 12 tracks, and there's probably 5 songs that were written as a band, and then the other were written by the other 3 guys.
Gotcha.
In a whole different session.
Sure.
That was a challenge because I'm like adapting this guy's style, and he had a very clean very clean up and down picking hand, very precise and very clean. And that was hard to duplicate in some areas. And then sing too. You know, I'm singing and I'm playing this, you know, he wants to jump all over the neck, and I'm like, and that's the one thing that still gets me. Even with my guys, I'm like, I gotta sing over something, you know, like give me something, you know, leave something open for me, you know.
Yeah. So I want to back.
I'm not the guy from Origin. I can't sing over every single riff.
Right.
That guy is amazing. That guy is amazing. That drummer is, that whole band is like, holy shit.
Origin is sick, man.
Right?
That's a great band.
Oh.
So I kind of wanted to back up. Now you kind of talked about being in a kind of a crossover hardcore band. What when you started with the crossover hardcore stuff? I mean that's like, you know, punk rock kind of thrashy type of stuff. And what moved you towards the death metal style stuff? What was the transition between there?
Right. At the time when I was in the crossover band, of course, listening to a lot of MOD, SOD, DRI, Misfits, Danzig, you know, stuff like that. So what happened for me is I caught on to, I mean, and I had heard the Testament record, like, you know, when it first came out, and I loved it. And I love the Anthrax. Bless you. So the Anthrax, the Testament, and it just, I just something about that, you know, don't, you know, that heavy chunking. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want to do the crossover stuff anymore. I said, I really want to get heavier. I want to like have that Testament guitar sound where, you know, you just, you're that.
Now are you talking Legacy or New Order?
New Order.
Okay, gotcha. That was my favorite album by those guys, man.
I love Legacy too, but the New Order is just a little bit.
Yep.
You know, like they took everything on the Legacy and like amped it up. You know.
Yes.
And it just seems like, and like I said, I love the Legacy, but like it seemed like the writing on the New Order was a little better too.
I believe. Yeah, I agree.
So no, I was just like, God, I really want that kind of guitar sound, you know, that heavy. So that's what really kind of inspired me to go, okay, I want to move on from this. You know, what direction are we going to go? And I knew kind of what I wanted. And then I was working at a record store part-time or something. And somebody's like, hey man, it's like, you should check this out. And I'm like, what's that? And it was the Death Leprosy tape. And I was like, oh, okay. So my first introduction to death metal, pretty much. And I put it in, and I was like, wow, this is like freaking awesome. Like, this is what I want to do. And see, back in that day in our local area here, you were either in a cover band, or you were in a cover hair band, or both. That was like, those were the bands that were going around.
Yeah. And
the heavier bands like us kind of really weren't on the surface, so to speak, yet.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in with any of these bands because I wasn't Joe's solo guy. I couldn't solo to save my life as much as I wanted to. And I just didn't fit in with these guys. And I thought, well, the crossover thing was cool because we didn't really have to have any solos.
Right.
So I could focus mainly on being a rhythm player. And then when we started the conception of Morta Skuld, and like we were going to do the first demo, I was like, hey man, I'm like, I really, you see all your favorite guitar, duos and stuff. And I'm like, well, I want us both to do solos. And at the time I had no idea what I was doing, like not even remotely.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just was like, I'm going to try this. And, if it works, it works. And a lot of my solos on Dying Remains I listen to now and I go, oh God, what were you thinking, dude? But yeah, I kind of, like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing. And the cool thing I liked about death metal is you didn't always have to solo.
Right.
You didn't have to. You could have songs with no solos. You could do a whole record with no solos. It didn't matter. And that's what I liked about it was I could express my individualism, and people were like, fuck yeah, I love that. I want to buy that. And I'm like, whoa, like what? Like our first demo, I was like, holy shit, like, we got signed off of the second demo, but the first demo did so well, that's why we did a second demo. And then they're like, Peaceville's on the phone, me 4 a.m. Hey, what's going on? You want to do a record deal? I'm like, sure.
So how did you guys come up with the name Morta Skuld?
Actually, Brian from Bioaggression came up with it. He was helping me out because, he had already, he's a singer. And they had done their Execution demo, which is like my favorite material from them. I love that demo. it kind of inspired me to, move forward as well. And I had no idea how to sing and play. And we were going in the studio, and we had just kicked our singer out, and he just wasn't working. And I'm even to back up. We were at a rehearsal, and we had this song where everybody switched instruments. And I became the vocalist. So one song. And after that song, a lot of the people we'd have like friends over and parties and all that. And somebody said, "Hey man," they're like, you should sing.
Yeah. You're kicking that singer's ass every time you do it. You're way harder than him.
Right. They're like, "Yeah, you're doing a much better job." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." So we booted him, and then Brian kind of helped me with the just, here, let's write some stuff, and you're gonna sing over the real basic, like the accents. Vocals are always over accents because you can, rah, 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 so every over accents, and he like write real simple phrases and this and that, and so he really helped out in that first demo, and that kind of like, okay, now by the time I did the second demo,
he put you on the track. He put you on the track. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It got me on the track, and I'm like, okay, I think I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Fucking A, that's kick ass, man. To have another, and that's so hard to find, man. I got Adam C. Adam D's in the chat with us, and Adam first thing he said was EMGs are the best pickup ever. It's so fucking dope, is what he said. And then so with that, man, like we were talking about a gatekeeping right now. People that won't allow you to get beyond that point, you know what I mean, with your band or something. They see you play, and they're like, you're not right to that level, and they kind of hold you back from expanding,
Sure.
Moving forward. Now, when you find another guy that's in your scene, or another band that's in your scene that takes the time to sit down with another musician and set them on the track like that, man, that's so huge, man, because it's like you said with the conservatory stuff that you did with those older classes, when you started playing guitar, you said that one guy made it seem so easy for you, and it made you want to keep going with the music, man. And when you're lucky enough to find a cat who's like, dude, you've never done this before, and you're like, no, man, I have no, you're into the fucking, throwing down the groove and shit. And now you're forced into that situation, and he's like, dude, I can show you how to do it. He sets you on the track. He shows you, basically that skeleton frame. You know what I mean? Gives you the accents, gives you the motivation to go, oh, dude, this makes sense now.
Yeah, there was two people. It was Troy Stetna, which was my teacher, and then Scott Barger, which was my music. The guy I used to go visit at the record store. And I mean, he had backstage passes to Dio, and we met Dave Mustaine. We met all these people, and I thought, this is really cool. But regardless of that, those two people, they're pretty much paramount for what I do today. It just was like, okay, like you said, they put me on the tracks. And as I went down the tracks, I just started gaining more momentum, and then started learning trial and error, and and then you start to learn, like what's, oh yeah, this song kind of sucks, or oh yeah, that part really doesn't work, or whatever. So you really start to develop that skill.
Yeah, for sure. So now you said you guys got signed off of your second demo. So where did that bring you? Now what year is this? This has got to be
1990.
Okay.
We did crap, I don't know what month it was, but we did the Gory Departure demo. I think it was more towards the beginning of the year. And I know for a fact the second demo was in August of 90. So Gory Departure was done, so whatever 6 months prior to August was, that's when we did Gory Departure.
Okay.
And then after then 6 months after Gory Departure, we had, before the second demo, we had a lineup change. So we had a drummer change and a guitar change, and then we wrote a couple tunes and then did Prolong, and then both first two demos are from 1990.
Okay. Now with the departure in the lineup change, that's a significant thing to be able to now. I mean, did it seem to ramp up when you hit that second demo? I mean, obviously you guys had momentum at that point.
Yeah, well, the songwriting started getting better. We had a couple of we had two Jason O'Connell, which did the first 4 records with us, he was on the second demo, and then Jeff Yeager, which was from Viogression, was on the second demo. So we had we had a little bit better talent. We had a little bit better talent. These guys were, Jeff had done a couple demos under his belt. He knew the studio real well. He knew how to write songs. And then Jason just kind of was. He had that natural ability, and once I showed him how to speed pick, and he kind of picked up on it, no pun intended.
Right.
He was on the track too, and then he was just like, okay. And then we wrote a couple more songs like real quick, and then I did the second demo, and I just think that second demo is more polished. It's sounds better. We knew a little bit more about what we were doing. We had gone in, did the first demo, and spent all this crap loads of money and time, and even Eric Greif was like, pretty much held our hand through that whole process of the first record.
Yeah.
First demo. And then the second demo, Eric did as well, and it was a little bit more freeing. All the stuff you hear on both demos, all the voices and all that stuff, that's all Eric or Jason's mom. He was really good about coming up with these weird, eerie intros and just making them from scratch.
Right. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, that's real cool, man. So
it was a cool time.
Yeah. And that's like 1990, huh?
Yep.
That seems so fun. I was in 11th grade.
Well, and that was the weird part about it was after that we got a call from before Peaceville called us. We were talking to Grindcore Records. I think it was Grindcore Records.
Okay.
And Eric Greif was like, "Hey, I got this deal for you guys," and we went in and 3-album deal, really good budgets. And all of a sudden we got home and we were told the deal's. It's not done. It ain't happening. We're like, what the hell happened between the meeting and the ride home, So okay, whatever. And then, like I said, not shortly after that, Peaceville called us and they were like, hey man, and this was when it was Def. So it wasn't Peaceville, but it was Def Records. So it was Def Records and then / Peaceville.
Okay.
And Johnny K had called me and just said, hey, he goes, I love the first 2 demos. I really want you guys to do a record. He's like, I'll give you I don't know if it was a 2-record deal or 3. I think it was 3. Yeah, 3 records. I'll give you a 3-record deal. I was like, awesome, dude. And then we did Dying Remains, and Dying Remains just took off. It's still our best-selling record today.
So, dude, honestly, back then, what kind of circles were you in that you guys were getting so much attention at that particular time? Was it just the material, or you guys had to have been rubbing elbows with? Because in the beginning, you said, that style of music was really underground at the time. Were you guys trading tapes and pushing your material to other bands or what?
Yeah, we discovered the amazing underground. I don't. And people ask me, is there still an underground? And I go, I think it's a little above ground now. I guess with the internet.
Yeah.
No, it was just I think I found a fanzine or something, and I just looked in the back, and they had all the addresses and stuff. And I would just copy the address down. I was like, hey, screw it, I'm going to send a tape to each one of these guys. And I sent a tape, and then they dubbed it and sent it to somebody else, and somebody else, and then somebody else, and it's just all of a sudden I'm getting all these. We're in all these fanzines,
Yeah.
And I'm getting bags of mail every day from everywhere, Spain, Portugal, Japan, everywhere, and. It was back on the honor system back in the old school days, and it was you'd open a letter, hey, $6, $6, and they had their little address, they had their name and their address, please send. You're like, oh, cool, and then you throw a tape in, address it, and I was probably doing a bag of tapes, probably once a week.
Damn.
It was incredible.
So you guys fucking worked at pushing those out too. If there was stuff coming.
I worked my ass off. The problem with me is I wish I didn't have to have a regular job. I wish I could sustain myself off of the band because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
And back then, it was just a different time. I didn't have a lot of the bills that I have now, and the band was just starting to get going, and we were all living in Jason's mom's house, and we practiced there and stuff, and she was just so supportive. And I just every day I'd think, okay, what can I do next? How can I market ourselves, and what can we do? And and I just really took I paid a lot of attention to what the bigger bands were doing, Death and Morbid Angel, and I saw matter of fact, the very first time I got the Human album, I was on a tape and it just had a blue cover, and it had Death Human and all the titles. And when we did a tape pressing for our second record, As Humanity Fades, we did the same thing. Did a little blue card and just little stuff like that. You just pick up on what other bands are doing and you just incorporate it, see if it works for you. And that's all I was doing. I mean, I was doing interviews, on paper. My hand be cramping, and I'd just be doing these interviews to get them out and get them out the door. And then people, it was 24/7. It was like if I had a job at the time, work, and I'd come home and it would just be band all day, all night.
Yeah.
And then even when I'd be at work, I'd still be like, God, I just want to get the fuck out of here. I just want to go home and do the band thing, because it's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
We really worked at it. I know that.
What's crazy to me is any of the bands or younger generation, like watching this particular interview, can learn so much from the things that you just said, man, because you found that passion. You went to the Marine Corps. You found, to me, it seems like you found that discipline that you needed to focus in on music. Like, you had music in your life before and had the taste of it. You know what I mean? It was like it touched your tongue and you had the taste of it, and you went off and you did some shit, but then it gave you the discipline to be like, yeah, this fucking sucks, but I really want to taste what I tasted before. You come back and you're disciplined now, and now you're starting to be focused on something that you truly love. And this is the part where I think that a lot of the younger generation can learn from what you're saying, because, dude, you went home and we had fanzines back in the day. We had to write. We had to trade tapes. We weren't able to just send our MP3 somewhere or find an email address and send files to somebody. You had to get their fucking address from the back of a fanzine or the back of a cassette tape or a record or something like that.
Right.
And the drive that it would take for you to get on the fucking phone, not necessarily go, hey, let's go on Facebook, let's go on MySpace, let's go on, Twitter or Instagram and find these fucking people. Yeah, you know what I mean? And find all this shit. To me, it is such a huge learning thing for guys these days, because that's what it fucking takes these days, man. You had a chance, and this is what amazes me, is that you had a chance to be the diamond in the rough, is what I always looked at it like. Like you'd get in touch with a record label, they might hear your earlier demo stuff, and then they go, this is a good band. Let's give them a shot. Let's put them on here. Let's give them a little bit of a budget, or you know what I mean? Like, give you enough to get in the studio, give you a little bit of exposure to where they could put you in other big magazines like Metal Maniacs or, some of them other things. It was like fanzine, Metal Maniacs. You know what I mean? And then and several other, magazines back in the day, which are no longer around anymore, by the way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I mean,
I remember we had our very first write up was in Metal Maniacs in the Firing Squad section.
Yeah.
And I remember like, oh my God, this is so awesome, because if you got in that section, you knew a bunch of people were going to write you. You knew.
But if you didn't get your shit chopped in half, though, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they didn't slay you right off the bat, and you got a good review in there, you were for sure getting all of that shit you're talking about, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, those are great times, man. But yeah, I just did stuff like that. I'd be like, okay, what can I get in? What can we do? How can just all. I tell people too, because a lot of people, you're in a band. I was like, you know what? It's not. I don't sit on my ass. I'm down. I'm in my I have a finished basement, my little jam area with my desk, and you can't see it, but I got my amp over here and all that. This is where I do all my work here. And 9 out of 10 times, if I'm not upstairs sleeping or something, I'm usually down here, and I'm usually trying to network or do something or work on a song. There's times where I'll be working on a song for a day and a half, and I'll be working on a solo section. We started relearning some older songs now since we, got some downtime, and I'm like, oh God. So I've had to rewrite some solos, and it's actually been a little frustrating, but it was actually kind of fun to hear the outcome of like, that's so cool. I wish I would have wrote that 30 years ago on that song.
Right.
I wish I would have played that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But now I got more knowledge. I'm further down the track. And so it's kind of cool though, because I'm like, yeah, I really hated what I did on that record, but I'm going to redo it because it's my song and my solo. So I'm going to redo it and I'm going to make it sound better.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's just, you got to put work into it. You have to. If you really want to do it, you have to put work into it. But at the same point, you can't be some jerk off, pompous asshole. And we all run into those people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, in death metal, I don't feel there's any room for that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, regardless of where you are on the totem pole or where you're at, it's kind of like when I was younger too, and I'd be running around the Milwaukee scene, and I'd be like sneaking into bars to watch like Realm, and I can't think of, there's a couple other bands that are just local, but still all these other like really cool local bands around the circuit that were like really making a huge buzz. And I just like, dude, this is cool. This is like just so liberating. It's a Thursday night, and I was old enough to drink at some point, but I'm sitting in a bar on a Thursday night going like, I'm going to get hammered and then go to school tomorrow,
Yeah.
But yeah, just walk, like I said, just the scene, just walk, just going to different bars and seeing all these bands back then, it really, to me, it raised a passion bar for me.
Yeah.
So.
What now? So you with you guys getting signed and moving forward with all that stuff, it's such an early time frame. You guys, what was the first Milwaukee Metal Fest that you guys played? Do you remember which one you guys played first?
I'd have to say maybe 2 or 3. Maybe it was 3. I think it was 3.
Okay.
I think it was 3 because I remember we got like a 9:00 slot in the morning. I was like, oh my god, 9:00 in the morning. I'm not even up. But you had said something before about us, rubbing elbows with people and stuff. I really think, and this is going to probably sound really corny and maybe some people dumb, but like the stars just happened to align. The music was just, first gen bands had just started, and we were kind of a part of that, but maybe kind of the tailcoat of it. It was just great because we were able to still be fresh and new, and yet it was an emerging music. And we had a local promoter here, Jack Koschik, which did all the metal fests.
Yep.
And Jack, and he actually managed the band for a while, and he would call me up and he'd be like, hey man, hey Dave, I got Morbid Angel coming, you want to do it? And I'm like, fuck yeah, next month Dave got Cannibal Corpse on. I'm like, hell yeah. Dave got Obituary coming. I'm like, yeah, So he was really a big part in our kind of career, so to speak, because he got us on some really high caliber shows.
Yeah.
And we were playing in front of, 800,000 people sometimes. I remember that one metal fest that was up in the ballroom one year, and I think there must have been like 1,500, 2,000 people. It was just nuts. So
yeah.
He got us an opening slot for Slayer.
Oh wow!
When they came to Milwaukee. Oh yeah, that was like, we were like, what?
Do you remember what tour that was?
All I can tell you, it was 1998.
You can only tell by that.
That's all I can tell you, because that was the year the band broke up.
Okay.
Because of our drummer and his little shenanigans. So that's kind of, but yeah, it was like Slayer was our last show of 1998 as like Morta Skuld, as far as I remember.
Wow.
Now, if you talk to Scott, my old guitar player, he's got an awesome memory. I think he even said, no, we played a few shows after that, so we may have.
Right.
I think we played with Immolation, I think, after that, I think, from what he told me.
Sure.
Sometimes, you much booze, and then, like I said, sometimes I'm networking with 8 different people, and I just, my brain goes to oatmeal. But Jack was a real good source for us just to play. And then, like I said, we opened for Slayer, and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty freaking cool,
Yeah, I was just telling a buddy of mine about me sitting in the ballroom in the rave. It's the ballroom in the rave in the parking lot behind it, right? Hanging out with Shane Embry, drinking a bottle of Goldschlager, and it was like,
nice.
I think it was maybe the second or third time we played Milwaukee Metal Fest too, And I'm still either in high school or just getting out of high school and hanging out with the fucking guys that I loved, I listened to all the time, and that was the thing. Hanging out with Don Decker. Don Decker was like the pseudo Jack Koschik. They worked together so many times with the Metal Fest, and that's how we got on it. You know what I mean?
Well, if a funny story about Don. I don't know if a lot of people probably don't know this, but he was roadieing. This is before Morta Skuld. This was in the crossover band that I was in. So that had to be like 1989ish. He was on the road with the Disturbed.
Okay. Yep.
Not the.
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, James and Earl
Yep.
Root
Yep.
and they came through town and I don't think we were playing, but I think we just went to go. They came to this weird place in town called the Unicorn.
Yep.
And it was like a downstairs thing, and it was kind of like almost kind of like a cave. It was like a basement that made it look like a cave. And I can't remember who they were playing with, but we went there and saw. Maybe it was Power Mad. Maybe they were playing with. I can't remember because I remember I used to love that band.
Yep.
And so we went down there and we saw, James Odegaard and Earl, Earl Root, and like, holy shit, this dude, like James's voice was like, holy crap, like just so amazing. And I was like, I don't know how he does that. And he actually did a guest vocal on our demo that we did for the crossover.
Yeah.
So that was kind of unique. He's a great guy. But anyways, getting back to Don Decker. So Don Decker was roading for them. And after the show, they were like, they're in a van, right? 6, 7, 8 guys, whatever it was. And they're like, yeah, we got nowhere to go, whatever. And Jason, we're all living at the band house, and Jason's mom like, well, hey, why don't you guys come and stay with us? And they were like, really? And she's like, yeah, and so, they all like camped out on the floor, dude. Everybody smells, everybody. And Don was there, and he was sleeping on the floor. And I remember Jason's mom went out and bought like just this big brick of like hot dogs and chili, and just made this huge crock pot of like chili dogs. And I remember Don being like scarfing them down. Everybody's like packing chili dogs in their face, and whatever have you. But that was my first time I ever met him, and that was like way before he even was doing anything. So
yeah.
So that's my story.
Yeah. Yeah, the Disturbed guys, man. They were like the Mecca when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I saw those guys open up for everybody around town, and Jim Odegaard was one of those dudes, man. Like you said, he was just phenomenal. He was a great showman, man. He was all out fucking balls to the wall, man, when I saw those guys.
He was.
And Earl was such
great
a sweetheart of
such
a dude.
A great voice.
Oh, dude, man. He could just wail back then, man.
Yep.
And I remember Don Decker gave my first band, Lobotomy, a show over off of Lake Street, and Jim Odegaard was one of the first people to come up to me, and I'm looking up to this guy. I fucking loved him so much, and took so much from him as a showman. You know what I mean? And to have him come up to me and go, dude, you're doing a fucking fantastic job. Keep doing it. Keep going. It was like it just pushed me to go even harder.
Nice.
And those guys.
That's all. Yeah, he's. Him and I are friends on Facebook, and that's one thing I will say. That's probably the only thing I really like about Facebook. It's a necessity for me because I'm, doing the band thing and whatever. But like, I get acquainted with old friends that I probably never would have gotten reacquainted with. So, and he was one. And we would talk every now and again. And he's just, he's such a good guy, man. Such a good guy.
Yeah.
Such good time, such a long time ago, but just. I remember that. I just remember that very, very vividly.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a solid story with going to see Disturbed. I mean, that's so early in the day. You know what I mean? That was like my very beginning. Playing music was right around that time. Disturbed was out there and doing good things, man.
Now, did they only do the one record?
I believe they did 2, maybe even 3. Because they did have some lineup changes. I know they got different drummers at the very end. Nick Miller was playing with them. I think he did Cataclysm for a little while.
Okay.
I believe that was the band that he did. Adam D wanted to say, Mr. David, forgive me for interrupting, but I was curious how the Wisconsin Milwaukee music scene before COVID and then after COVID. How has it been so far?
Beforehand, I mean, pretty fruitful, definitely, there's the one thing with us is we don't play locally a lot now. We do, we're very blessed and we're very fortunate to, play Netherlands Death Fest and California Death Fest and, Maryland Death Fest, and just really lucky and very, very blessed to do those shows. So we kind of don't really play a lot at home. But before this did hit, we were set to do, like, we had a couple tours we were set to do, obviously got canceled. But we were ready to play, I think, even a show in our hometown. And like I said, came and everything just got wiped out. And as far as I know now, there are some bands, local bands, playing sporadically around town. There's like a new club that opened up, and some of the other clubs still haven't opened up yet. Like the Rave isn't open yet. Cactus Club isn't open yet. Club Garibaldi isn't open yet. So a lot of the places aren't even open as far as like for bands at this point. So it's very limited. But the one thing that is really kind of freaking me out was cover bands seem to never stop playing. Yeah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If they're playing, why can't we play? Like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like really weird. It's like through this whole thing, there's 2 clubs in town that have been not really like constant, but like I'd say every other week they have at least two or three different cover bands playing.
Wow, that's
so the
crazy.
Cover bands seem to really not be impacted, but I feel like the original bands got more impacted by COVID than cover bands. So,
right.
But right now it's still kind of, it's like if you want to see a cover band, you can probably go see a cover band, but if you want to see an original band, it depends. Like I said, there were a bunch of original bands had played at this club last week, and then the month before, and the month before. So there are some people playing out, but not on a full scale that I can see yet.
Right. So are they starting to lift things more over there in Wisconsin? I mean, it was
No. I just think that these bars just are saying, screw it, we don't care.
Wow.
And they're just like, if we get fined, we get fined. Because as far as I know, none of the bands are really nothing's really been lifted. There's like some places like in Kentucky or Ohio, you can have a show, but you only have 25% capacity, and then people have to be seated 6 feet apart, and everybody's got to wear a mask.
Jesus.
And to me, we got we could easily do that, but like I don't know, man. It just I want people up I want people up close to me, and I want people standing, and I want people moshing, and that's the kind of band we are. You know what I mean? I always told we had an offer to go do a show like that, and I said, we're not Styx.
Yeah.
We're not Styx. We're not Foreigner.
Yeah.
And please, no disrespect to those bands. Those are like 2 of like my all-time favorite bands growing up as a kid. Love Styx. Tommy Shaw, amazing.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is, those are the bands you would probably go somewhere and sit and watch.
Right.
Matter of fact, the last show I saw before everything was Styx after a hockey game here.
No shit.
So they have the hockey game. Yeah, they have the Milwaukee Admirals play, and then after they'll have a band. The last one we were supposed to go see was the Admirals and an REO Speedwagon, and then of course everything got canceled.
Wow.
So, but yeah, so I was like, no, I'd rather have the fans, and I want things to get back to normal. I really do, because it as well as for you, me, it's been a rough entire year, and it's like we've been doing this for a year now, and it's like I just think people are there's so much stuff going on. Suicide rates are up, domestic abuse is up, drug addiction is like going freaking nuts, and it's like we got to do something soon. So right. I'm really hoping that hopefully by summer, because I know like even here in Wisconsin, like all the big festivals, like they all canceled this year.
Right.
And I'm like, except for our state fair. Our state fair has not canceled yet, and I think they're really holding out because it's in August.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm really hoping that things kind of do start returning to normal soon. But it's just been rough for everybody.
Yeah. So with the whole thing, has your job been affected at all? Have you been working this whole time?
Yeah. I lost my job last March, and I have not worked for an entire year.
Wow.
So it's been that rough, and then I just started a new job last week. So I was like, sweet, part of me's like, yeah, and the other part's like, no, I got no freedom, like I can't just do what I want now,
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's a pretty decent job, and I get paid well for doing it, and it's not like super hard. I didn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops, so I was like, cool,
perfect.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So now, were you on unemployment that whole year? Were you taking?
Yeah, pretty much on and off.
Yeah.
Because you get to a certain point where you have no more benefits. And then, and then I'm like, oh, I got no more benefits. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know how other people did it, but for me, every time I get anything, any type of money, I would try to squirrel as much of it away as I possibly could.
Sure.
So I had a little bit of savings. I thought, okay, I can make it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, COVID relief, unemployment, let's go. And I'm like, oh, they're making it really hard for people because people don't want to go back to work.
Yeah, I know.
They don't. They're making more money sitting on their ass. I remember 1 week. I think I was sent like $1,500 in like 1 week. Didn't even know what it was for. And I'm like, holy crap, like my bank account's like going crazy. And then like next week, yeah, we'll give you another 500. And yeah, we'll give you another 6. And yeah, like right now here in Wisconsin, if you're on unemployment, you get like, I think it's almost $650 a week.
Damn. Yeah.
So, I mean, would you, you know what I mean? It's like, so, hey, we'll take care of you. But, there's ups and downs to that too then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want to be reliant on that forever. Because then if you do, well, you're never going to go back to work, you know? So, I was lucky enough, like I said, to find something, and I was like, "Hey, man, I gotta, I mean, the great part about it was I had enough time to where Ann could, we could work on stuff, and it gave us a bigger window to write new material and to start learning other songs, and so that was great for me. That I loved about being off was I could get up, I could play guitar whenever I wanted. I could, hey, I'm going to play in the afternoon, and then I'll play tomorrow, or I'll play and then I could schedule things, and I could say, hey, I'm going to come up and we're going to do some tracking today. Okay, and so I mean that was the positive behind it.
Sure.
But mentally, it really starts to kind of wane on you, on your psyche after a while, because like you're not doing anything. You're watching TV, and I mean. I think I've seen every episode of Storage Wars that I possibly can watch.
Yeah.
It's my vice. It was Special Victims Unit, but I kind of got bored with that, and then I got bored with Chicago PD, and I was like, hey, Storage Wars. So now my new one is Shipping Wars.
Yeah.
That's my new one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, and it sounds like you're a pretty motivated cat too, man. So you get into a lull like that for a while. I know when it first hit, my wife had got a fever, and at my job, like I kid you not, like a week before that, they gave us a thing to sign saying that if you had a sore throat, if you had a fever, you had any of that stuff, or anyone in your household, like you had to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was like 14 days or some shit like that, and it was like. We stayed in the apartment and did not leave, and it was like, I got to like week 2 and I'm going, oh my God, I got to get the fuck out of here, man. This is driving me absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
That happened to my girlfriend and I, but later on, like I think November, she had gotten COVID and she got tested for it. I didn't, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I have it. So and see, she works for a doctor, and the doctor was like, I remember it was like 14 days. Our doctor's like, no, 7 to 10 tops. We were like, okay, so we did that 7 to 10 days. I think it was like 8 days we quarantined. She got better, I got better, and then we both did the antibody test, and so we found out we both have the antibodies to it. So we're like, oh, okay, but we weren't. She had no smell, no taste, and that was really about it. Me, I had sinus, and I felt like somebody just punched me in the forehead pretty much. And then, and then of course the fatigue. Yeah. You just wanted to sleep all day.
Fucking.
Otherwise than that though, we were up and around in like about 6-7 days and just doing business as usual. But getting back, segueing to what you were saying about being stuck, we were like stuck, and we're like, oh my God, like. I mean, not that it was like, it was just like, shit, I want to get out of here. I want to do something.
Yeah.
Any excuse to just get out of the house, Yeah. And then I remember once I got better, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. No, you couldn't go to the gym because all the gyms were closed. Like, what the hell am I going to do? And then, so you close the gym, close the movie theaters, close half of the stores. I'm out of work. I got time on my hands, and I can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And you were saying before, I am a pretty motivated person, but I will say this time totally uninspired me.
Yeah.
Like uninspired me. Like I was so it was weird because I think it either did one or the other to people. It either really inspired you or it uninspired you. And for me, it uninspired me. Like I didn't want to play guitar. I didn't want to do nothing. I was just really like depressed and just bummed out. And somehow, I don't know, somehow we just, because I was in the process of moving, and then my drummer moved, and so like, he was having a hard time because he wasn't able to rehearse a lot. I wasn't able to rehearse a lot. And it was just this really weird period. And then once things moved on for both of us, he moved in his house, I moved in my house, and then things kind of got better. And it was like, hey, and then all of a sudden, like we kind of found that inspiration again. And and then with Tim, well, Tim's been in the band like maybe almost a year now. But Tim really kind of came in and really kind of kicked me in the ass with the inspiration, because he was on fire, man. He's like, here, I got a song. I was like, what? And he loves to track his songs with drums and
nice.
Like a nice presentation. And he's like, here you go. And I was like, wow, I was like, this is a really good song, and his songs are a little hard. There's some areas that his songs are really hard, but they're definitely really, really good songs. And he brought some really cool stuff to the table. And and then I started writing a couple songs, and then now the song we're working on now, John, the bass player, he started this song, and we're kind of like all working on it together.
Well, see, dude, that's fucking badass right there, man. Because when you get into lulls like that, when you have other members in the band, a lot of times when you're in a band, there's like maybe a couple guys that have the majority of the riffs. They're the guys that come in all the time with stuff. When you find guys like that, especially when you hit a lull in the middle of a fucking pandemic, you're just like, oh, I don't even want to pick my shit up right now. And you got another guy who is ultra motivated and able to not only write the shit and create it, but put it down on a DAW and send it to you, and you're like, you look at yourself and go, all right, maybe I need to fucking do something here, because this dude's kicking ass and he keeps going. And that's the kind of stuff that good bands are made of, man. When you find other guys that are motivated to keep everybody else going too. I know my buddy Adam, we were talking about this at length last week on the podcast about how do you get other members in your band to continue to grow as musicians, or you know what I mean? Like after you write an album, you kind of get stuck into that. Okay, every time we get together for practice, we're going to go through the set, we're going to play our stuff, and we're going to play for the next gig, or we're going to play for there's no time to write. And we got into this conversation about how do you motivate your members to continue,
Right. Well, and it's different because when Scott was in the band, Scott was in the band for like 4.5 years, but Scott also was in the band in 1998 as well, before the band had broke up. So Scott was kind of when he came into the band, he knew he knew like, well, this is I'm gonna write Morta Skuld. He just kind of knew, like, he fit really well, his ideas, everything. And at that point, we were writing more of like I brought a riff to the table, he'd bring we kind of build it.
Right.
And then near the end, before the record was finished, he actually started writing like whole complete songs with drum tracks, and then presenting them to us that way. So that worked. And now, like Tim, that's how Tim is. Tim likes to write an entire song with drum tracks and then presents it to the band and goes, "You like it? Do you not like it? Do you want to change something? What don't you like?" And as far as like what he's presented so far, we really haven't changed anything. Like, we're like, yeah, that's really cool. That works. That's great. It's just, you got to show us, And then at that point, everybody Eric will put his little spin on the drums. Like, the drums are never what is programmed.
Sure.
So it's kind of neat when Eric puts his touch on it. It's like, oh wow, this is a totally different
comes
song,
to life. Yeah, comes to life for sure.
Right. And then John will come in with a bass fill or a bass line. And then of course I got to put the lyrics on top, and then whoever does a solo, or we both might do a solo. And for instance, I wrote 2 whole songs myself right now, and then I think Tim wrote 2. And the one song that I wrote, like, Tim came up with this really, and this stuff I like, is I was like, okay, I'm gonna write this song. I wrote it, and yeah, it's cool. And then all of a sudden, Tim, yeah, I'm gonna do this over there. I'm like, oh my god, I was like, that sounds so cool, and like, it really turned the song into something a litto bit different.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I like doing, is bouncing. I mean, I don't like writing whole songs myself. I'll do it if I have to, or have to. That's a bad word to say, but like, if we're writing a song and it's not pressing naturally, then sometimes I feel like, well, I got to get motivated.
Right.
I got to figure out what the next step is,
Sure.
because I really want to get on this song. yeah, for the most part, that's kind of what we're doing now, and like with technology too. Like you said, he can write a song, send it to me, yeah, and then I can, whatever, and then even going up to his house, we'll go up to his house and we'll record the song at practice, and then he'll take it home, and then I'll go up to his house and I'll be like laying either solos down or vocals over it. And then he'll send it to the whole band so everybody can kind of hear, yeah, this is kind of the idea with vocals. And the great part that I love about this is that it's been really educational for me, because I'm going, oh, yeah, that doesn't work here. And, oh, that doesn't work here. Because most people don't understand is you can write a song all you want and you can sing it. You go, yeah, I play it perfect at practice. And once you get in the studio, you're like, oh, crap. Like, I can't do it as well because it's a studio setting.
Right.
And everything's, picked apart and isolated. And you're like, oh, crap. I said line, blah, 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 blah.
It doesn't mesh over the top of it. It doesn't mesh over the top of it.
Right. Or, oh, crap. I need to take a breath here. I'm got 2 more words to say, It really helped me find out the spots where I can breathe, the spots where I can take a breath, and spots where I need to amp it up. And it's really been cool, because by the time we get these songs right now into the pre-production phase, it's going to be like, they're going to be like almost ready to go. Like all we have to do is just go into a studio and like, we'll be,
Yeah.
They'll be ready. So, I mean, yeah, we're really trying to work hard and really trying to get these songs as good as we can get them, and just,
So I know you told me off the air before we even got this thing started, and I was going to get to this too. So you guys are writing right now. How many songs do you have? Pretty close to completion right now.
Oh, well, right now we have 4 complete songs, and we're started song number 5.
Okay. And are you shooting for a full length? Or are you going to do an EP? Or are you going to do?
Yeah, no, we're gonna do another record.
Okay.
For the people that are listening that don't know, we did release a brand new record in September of 2020 called "Suffer for Nothing" on Peaceville Records, and it's available everywhere. I mean, Nuclear Blast carries it, Century Media carries it, everybody carries it. So if the people want to hear some new stuff, if you weren't aware that we did a new record, we did. But of course, due to COVID, everything got shut down, and of course, even a lot of the PR and press for that record got kind of cut. Our publicist was like, hey, people aren't in the office, and it got to the point where I guess our label was saying that some people were saying, if you want me to review the record, you got to pay me.
Jesus.
Because people were out of work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you're paying me $1 million to do this right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, $1 million. The check's on its way right now. You want it, dude? Did you see my post from earlier?
I did,
dude. And here's the thing, though. Okay, that's why
I said that,
dude. Here's the funny thing is that the cat who sent me the text, right? He's like, he sends me the text and he tagged me with a couple other podcasters, right? And he's like, dude, would you believe this? And he sends the screenshot of it, and I'm like, wow, that sounds really familiar. And then I'm like, holy shit, this band has been around a long time. They're older school than you and I are. You know what I mean? They're like a poppy.
Now I'm curious.
They're like a poppy punk rock. They're like a poppy punk rock band. They've been around for a long time here. You know what I'm saying? And and they've done some like just outrageous things. They played some big festivals. Anyway, to me, I've always liked them. I've been in the same circles with these guys. I know a lot of the same management and the same people that they had dealt with, and I've dealt with those folks. Sure. I've always been friendly with these guys, so hence why I'm not saying their name. But
I get it.
When he sent me that shit, and the guy said that he wanted him to pay $120 for 45 minutes for a conversation, which he's an aging local music star. Okay, so like he was big 80s into the 90s, Right. Went away for a little while, came back and got big again, and then all of a sudden they just kind of disappeared. Well, one of their members ended up going and playing with Everclear and like toured with Everclear for a little while, you know what I mean? So it's like, what the fuck have you guys done? You know what I mean? Like what warrants $125 or $120 for 45 minutes? You know what I'm saying? To sit down and have a conversation about what you've done in your art, right? To keep it, maybe somebody out of the podcast that my buddy wanted him to be on, he's got 200 subscribers on his YouTube, but reaches out because he does audio as well. So he's got a ton of audio subscribers and 200 on YouTube. But if the people of these generations in the last, you know what I mean, from 2000 on, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? Nobody knows this dude. And all of a sudden he's like, you're paying me $100. I'll come on for $120 for 45 minutes. It's like a smack in the fucking mouth. I was just like, wow, dude. So yes.
Well, you know what that's like too. Is it's like a meet and greet. You know, like I can't remember where I was. I don't know if it was one of the death fests or something. But somebody say, hey, can I get a picture? And they're like, can I get a picture? I'm like, yeah. Why not? Do I got to pay for it? And I'm like, no, I would never make somebody pay for a picture with me. I said, no, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, I get some weird requests now and again, you know, but somebody, hey, could you send me a pic? Sure, I can send you a pic, you know, whatever. But like, I had a fan the other day ask me like, hey man, it'd really be nice if you sent me a shirt. I'm like, you can go here, or here and buy a shirt. I said, I'm not going to give you a shirt. Right. I said, I got to, you know, this is art, but it's not free. You know, my time, and not only that, but gas, and you know, gotta have a car, gotta get to practice, gotta take time, you know, to do. I mean, a lot of money and self-sacrifice goes into this art that we all love to do, but to charge somebody to have a conversation, it's like, this ain't Ellen DeGeneres. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. It's like,
yeah, and you know that's what's so funny about it. You know what I mean? Like it blew me away because it was so like over the top. You know what I mean? Like like who are you, man? And why would you do? You know what I mean? Like this guy's trying to keep you relevant. You know what I mean? Like just kind of keep. Well,
you know, I love it. I love doing these. These are like really fun for me. Yeah. And I mean, I've done got 4 or 5 of them already, and I mean, I love them, and it's like, what I'm gonna make you pay to have a conversation? It's like it ain't costing me any, dude. I just popped up on the thing, and you know here, and I mean, yeah, that's it. I don't know, man. So yeah. You know what? Maybe the guy needs some money because he ain't working or something. Who knows?
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. And yes, your check is in the mail, Dave. Thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for putting me on Front Street. Now everybody's gonna want to get paid now. It's like, but you paid Dave from fucking Morta Skuld. $1 million.
Right. Oh my God.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the last album you guys released, it just kind of it's there right now. It's out there on every
platform. Yeah, I mean iTunes and whatever you can, Spotify, and it's everywhere. I mean, it came out, and it's like, man, I was really nervous because I mean, like I said, we had a tour set up for Europe in September, and then a U.S. tour set up in October, so we could. So the plan was the album would come out, we'd go on the road in Europe to promote it, and then we'd go on the road in the States to promote it. I thought this would be really cool because we're one of those bands where, I don't know how to say this without sounding, but we're not an internet band. Like, I mean, if you go to our page, it's like we don't have like 8 million people looking at our stuff.
Sure.
We're a live band. And right. I noticed that last few years we've been playing, it's just the kind of band we are. Like, people are more willing to come up to us and buy stuff at the merch table than they are per se to
but you guys do it right though, man. When you guys played Lee's and you like put out the old school shit, you know what I mean? You guys did it right. You had the fucking vinyls there. You had like all the cool shit, like old shirts, new shirts. It was perfect. In a lot, I think that gets lost in translation with a lot of these younger bands, man. They don't understand that hustle. That even if you're making fucking $100 or $200 at a gig, your main bread and butter is going to be the merch that you are offering to other people. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, and you're absolutely right. And that's like when we did, was it last? No, it wasn't. Like, I can't remember now, but I think it was late 2019. I think we did a short run with Skeletal Remains, and then we went out to California for like a 3-date run, and like we literally almost nothing. I mean, people were just buying the vinyls left and right and the shirts, and it was so great. And now I'm really excited because I really can't wait to start playing because we have brand new Suffer for Nothing shirts. We've got Suffer for Nothing patches. We've got Gory Departure cassette tapes. We got Surface cassette tapes. You know, we've got all other patches, and we've got koozies, and we really we definitely got a lot of merchandise. You know, plenty of vinyl to offer as well. So, I'm really looking forward.
Where can people get some of this stuff now? That since you're not touring at the moment.
Peaceville.com.
Okay.
You can go there and just type in Morta Skuld, and it'll send you the page, and then they can order any of our reissues. So the first 3 albums are all reissued, remastered, available for sale. Wounds Deeper Than Time is available, and then Suffer for Nothing, all at peaceville.com.
Badass.
Or you can do Spotify. I think Target actually, is selling the vinyl too right now. Target and Walmart, I think, is selling the vinyl.
Damn.
So you can pretty much all the people have to do is go just Google Suffer for Nothing, where to buy, and I'm sure it'll just
right.
A lot of different formats, man, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have no idea how the record really is doing. I know I kind of have a little fear behind that, because I'm like, we haven't been able to get out in front of anybody. But the fan base that we have, and just seeing people send in pictures of the record, it seems, at least I seem that it seems to be doing okay, or was doing okay. I mean, people are buying it. So
right.
A lot of compliments on the record. A lot of people are saying they really enjoy it, and they it's a little faster, a little heavier, and I mean I hope it does well, and I'm hoping once we get back on the road again, once stuff gets better, that hopefully the sales will start to get better. But as far as I know, we have another record on our contract right now. So that's kind of why we wanted to get ready for this. So just in case things do get better and we start playing more, we have to tour and we can't write, that we have these songs
in the can. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So when we get home, if the label's like, hey, we want another record, let's go, we're ready to go.
Right. That's a really smart thing to do. I know there's a couple local bands here that are doing that. They have one in the can and ready to rip, you know what I mean? But because we can't play any local shows, we can't have any CD release parties or anything like that. Even listening parties have been real tough online, and you know what I mean, that type of shit. And how do you monetize that type of shit? You know what I'm saying?
I just when the record first came out, our press agent was like, hey, just so you know, it's going to be a slow go because things just aren't great right now. And I'd say for probably a good month and a half, we had some pretty solid press. Not as many interviews as I'm used to doing, because like off of Wounds Deeper Than Time, I think I was buried in interviews for like a month.
Wow.
With this one, not so many interviews. This one, it was more news, online, and podcasts. Those are the two things that really kind of amped up. And there are a lot of really good reviews on it, and people seem to dig it. So I mean, it definitely was. It was a different impact, and I was even like calling my press. I'm like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, and she's like, yeah. She's like, there's nothing going on this week. She goes, everybody's still at home. And I'm like, oh man, and we were in like what is it, Metal Hammer, and we were in a bunch of magazines, and like this year it kind of was like, I think we had a small spot in Decibel online, but not in the magazine. But if you look at their magazine, it was like super thin. Like,
right.
and excuse me, and our press person said this is kind of happening to everybody right now. So it was like, it bummed me out a little bit, because I was hoping to get more press with this record.
Yeah.
Because I really think it was a very well done record, sound wise and just song wise. But it's still there. It's still there, so people can still buy it. And then hopefully once we start playing out, hopefully that'll jumpstart it.
So where did you guys record this, and who was the producer on this album?
We recorded here in town at Bell City Studios with Chris Jerick. And Chris Jerick, if you're not familiar with him, he's recorded bands like November's Doom.
Oh, nice.
Jungle Rot. He did the Wrath. I don't know if you know those guys.
Yep.
Wrath from Chicago.
Yep.
He did their record like a year ago. I think they have a new one waiting to come out, or it came out or something, but he did their record too. So he does a lot of other bands too, and a lot of locals and stuff. But we went to him because we like the fact that he's not just a knob turner. He just doesn't sit there and be like, okay, I got you, go. He'll literally stop you. Yeah. Some engineers are just that. They're just engineers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted somebody to come in and like be that fifth ear and go like, well, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? Or what are you, and the great thing I love about Chris is a musician himself. He was in Wrath many years ago, and he plays a couple different instruments, and he's just got a fantastic ear. So we came in, and now I don't know how other bands do it, and I know a lot of bands, when they ask me like, well, how do you do this? I always tell them, before you go to do a record, you always got to do pre-production. If you don't do pre-production, you could go in and
flying blind.
You.
Yeah, yep.
Flying blind. Like, oh wow, I did. What are we gonna do? So we did pre-production, gave it to Chris, and he was like, this is what I want to capture. And I'm like, capture what? And he's like, this is what you sound like in the basement. This is what I want to capture. I want to capture the essence and the sound. I was like, okay. So, we went in, and he was just great. I mean, there'd be like some part. He's like, hey, what do you think about trying this here or trying that there? And, and I think even there was a spot in Divide the Solace where he's like, I just accidentally hung out this chord, and it was a mistake. And he was like, I like that. Let's go back in and track that whole part like that. And I'm like, okay. So he's really, really good as far as like, we do consider him a producer, because we ask him like, what do you think? What do you think? Even with the guitar tone, it's a
trusted opinion from someone. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If he says, dude, that doesn't sound right, we know it doesn't sound right. Yeah. So, and it's great because he lets us perform. It's not like it's not stuffy, or it's just like, hey, just take it easy, play, Yeah. And he just makes it really laid back and easy. And we recorded right because everything was being shut down.
Yeah.
That's when we recorded. So it was like, what is going, like I remember, like I told you before, the stores were like, a lot of stores were closed. The gym was closed. My job was closed.
The fucking toilet paper was gone.
Right? Lysol was gone.
Right.
And we're recording a record. I'm like, wow, this is kind of surreal,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we recorded the record in March. So it's been a year already since we've recorded the record. But no, I just feel like he's more of a producer. He's more of a member of the band. He likes to get in. He likes to really, I don't know how to explain it. He just really likes to jive with the band, and he likes to throw ideas off of you. And
sure.
Even vocally too, he'll be like, hey, let's go over and let's redouble this. And I want to redouble that. And I want to do this. And I'm like,
dude,
I really don't think
phenomenal,
no, just do it. Just do it. And then
he does it for you to hear it.
Yes.
Right? So he's like, I got an idea. Let's try it this way. Take a listen to this. Yeah. What do you think? Type of shit. That's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. No, he's and the process was just easy. I mean, we I think we were in for like 6 or 8 weekends, because we were only doing weekends. We were Saturday, Sundays. So I think it was like 8 weekends. And, but the cool part and another part I like about him too is, we were kind of struggling with the mix a little bit. We were like, are the guitars too loud, or the drums too loud? Stuff like that. And we got to a certain point where he was like, you know what? I'm not, like, technically we should have been done with the record, but he's like, you know what? I'm not letting this go. I think I can do a little better, And so that was really inspiring to me, because we had a problem with mastering the record, and it was supposed to be mastered somewhere else, and it just never happened. And I said to him, God, we need to master this. And he's like, dude, let's get this done. Let's master this,
So he helped you master too.
Yeah.
That's fucking huge, dude. That's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like sounds like you guys got hooked up with the right guy, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I had done in my previous band, I had done a bunch of recording with him back in the early 2000s. So I had worked with him already. And then Eric, the drummer in our band, when he was in Jungle Rot, he worked with Chris too.
Okay.
So both of us had worked with Chris before. So we had a pretty good relationship with him at that point. So, and it was just a no-brainer too. It was like, he made it really affordable for us. He's like, I think he's like maybe a half hour from us, so it was like, it was real easy.
Sure.
Yeah. It was like really easy to get there. And, you didn't have to worry about, because I know in the past we've recorded at other places that were like, an hour away, and don't get me wrong, I love all the studios I've been in, right. But this was just really convenient. and it was just like, let's take care of business. And
stars aligned again. There goes the stars aligning again.
What's that?
I said the stars aligned again.
Right. Yeah. No, and a lot of people think that's ridiculous, but back in the '90s, I honestly felt like if the band wouldn't have broken up, this would be my lifestyle. Like, this is what I would be making money off of if I wouldn't have gone away, or I should say, this band, take a little hiatus. But it is what it is. I'm glad that it gave me a little bit different perspective, different views.
Sure.
And then to come back into it now and see, because when we first came back in like 2011, there really weren't a lot of bands resurging and like reforming and coming back again. And then all of a sudden it was like boom, 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 and like I was like, oh man, this is really cool. It's really cool to see some of these old bands come back and still be impactful, still write good music, still write good songs. I mean, it just amazes me. And I mean, like I said, we've shared the stage with a lot of different death metal bands, and I just think it's just one of those musics where you can find. Cat must be doing something, but you can find your niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to be like any other death metal band. You can be whatever you want.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's a really cool part about it.
All right, I got a question from Adam D. Mr. David, forgive me for my ignorance, but how does a band get attention from labels nowadays? He said also, do labels see the potential in the band even if they're extremely green? And when it comes to the music in the music business?
Right. Good question. Right now, I don't want to say it's impossible, because it's not, but it's becoming more rare. It's becoming more rare for bands, for labels to just pick up bands that are green, I guess, so to speak. So it's not happening as much, because you got to remember, these record labels have their bread and butter bands, and they have these bands that they're shooting their money into, and they're getting the return. So and especially with what happened to us in the last year, some labels have done better and some haven't done better. I mean, from what I've heard and read, online sales as far as like LPs and stuff like that are really surging. So I mean, that's good. I guess my thing is, as far as getting attention from the label, it's like, I think it's kind of more like if you have an in with somebody, really. That's, you know what I mean? Like like my relationship with Peaceville, when the band had gone away, it took me a while to kind of get back in contact with them. And then I had been talking with Peaceville for probably 5-6 years before Morta Skuld was even considered to put out a record. So I mean, I had been talking with them for a long, long time. So I think really, I mean, my advice to him is just, have fun with it. Have fun with it first. Don't worry so much about being on a record label, because there's bands out there that are doing it themselves, and they're having much better results than they could if they were on a record label.
Right.
And you have to remember, when you're on a record label, there's contracts
and restrictions.
There are restrictions, and a lot of people don't realize that there are. Like for myself, the first 3 records I don't own at all, and I never will own it. Same thing with like the Beatles and Black Sabbath. That's a very common thing too, contract wise. That has not changed in like the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Contracts are pretty much the same.
They keep your shit, right?
Right. If a record label pays you to record, right, they give you a recording budget, they want to recoup that. But in return, they own the rights to your music at that point. So for me, I was lucky when we did Surface. We put it out on Pavement. We licensed it. It wasn't a record deal. It wasn't like a signing. So we were able to retain our rights for Surface. And I know now with like Wounds, I negotiated something. So again, like you were saying, restrictions, negotiations.
Yep.
So you have different things that you can do. The thing that I know a lot of bands don't like to do is they don't like to give up their rights to their own music. And that is a hard part. But then you have to remember too, most record labels are going to ask you that. They're going to ask you, we're going to do this for you, but we want to retain the rights to your music. Right. And then that gives them the opportunity to exploit your music any venue they want to make their money back off of it.
Right.
And then also too, you have to remember some record labels aren't. I'm not. How can I say this? Some record labels aren't as honest as other record labels. Our label, for example, is pretty damn good to us. I mean, we get a really decent royalty rate. We definitely get, we get some things that other, I've heard other bands, oh, we didn't get this, we didn't get that. I'm like, oh, and we were lucky enough. We got that. We got to retain this or retain that or whatever. So, Peaceville Record Store has always been really good to us. Like, I've never had a problem with like going, hey man, or fighting with them. We may have a disagreement sometimes. I'll be like, hey, this is what I want. You're like, well, this is what you're gonna get, or this is what we're willing to do. But for the most part, I have a really good relationship with our label, and even me being an established artist, I still had to, talk to them and convince them. And I would say the other part. Was it Adam?
Yep, Adam. Yep.
And the other part is you want to make some noise. You want to make some noise. You want to get out there. You want to play. I know right now it's tough, but once things settle down a little bit, tell Adam, Adam, you got to get out there. Just play with whoever you can, and just keep playing.
And Adam is a fucking really, really talented guitar player and vocalist. He's got range in his vocals. You know what I mean? It's not just all heavy. He's got a nice range to his vocal.
You know him.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the thing too, man. There's a studio that's 1459 Studios. Has been doing a lot of the heavy bands around town, right? So we're recording them quite a bit. So with the pandemic, one of the better photographers here in the Twin Cities, Dave Rabin and Will Maravellis from 1459, they came together and made a live at 1459. And I've been pushing it since I've heard it, which has only been a couple months now, but. Right. They've been offering a package of like a couple songs where they will do pro sound, right? Because Will owns a recording studio, so he's got a pro mix into the whole deal. Now Dave has set up multiple camera angles to do videos, so they can do like a live shoot video, and they offer that for a couple $100. And this is the thing we were talking about where it comes to making some noise, like. Go in the studio, make some videos, fucking have that shit in your arsenal, because right now you can't go out and play live shows, but you can still have an online presence. You can still make waves by trying to do that. And this is the thing, Dave, you're 100% right by having fun with the music. I never signed to a label. I played many showcases for labels. I did a lot of cool things. I played huge festivals. I'd done a lot of cool shit. In those stumbles and steps that I had done and not making money and not doing any of that shit, I learned a ton about just being relevant. You know what I'm saying? Like making sure that people remember your name. You get your name out there no matter what, especially on the internet. Now, Dave, this is me going back to what you were saying about going and getting in these fanzines and getting your stuff out there and trading your tapes and staying on that hustle all the time. This is something that younger people need to really focus in on, because there's so many outlets that we never had when we were young. You know what I'm saying? Right. There's so many other ways to get in people's, in their eyesight, in their ear, to be able to make those waves. You got to continuously push and push and push and push. And that is it. If it's one guy in the band, you are that one guy that needs to push the rest of the band. You know what I'm saying? Like, let those dudes, focus on their material and work and push them to continue to write and do all the things. I think, Dave, with the stuff that you're doing now, as far as having members in the band that are now, they're more fluent in recording. And these days you've got all this software and Reaper. Reaper's one of those things.
God,
it's free. It's free. You can
we record every practice. And then, like I said, Eric will send us the files and we'll listen to them and do, and then Tim will put them in his Reaper and he'll do overdubs.
Dude, I think that as you grow as a musician, man, you are, and Dave, this is something that I'm hearing from you too, is that, with guys that have come and gone in your band, you realize from that shit, like what works and what doesn't work. And as you grow as a musician, having a member in the band that's like, dude, I've written a whole song, and then making a production of it and sending it to you is something like, to be a musician and not pick somebody's shit completely apart and go, 4 or 5 bars in, or like, one piece here, I don't really like that, and trying to like change every single fucking thing. You actually, as a musician and an older musician, you're like, dude, I'm willing to listen to what, you have an open mind, like a real creative open mind. And that's like huge.
Right. The one thing too, I think that really helped me out, being in the Marines and stuff. And, like you were saying before, it sparked a lot of passion in me. I learned that discipline. Being a leader of a band, it's not always fun. It's not, because people, instead of like, if somebody's gonna how can I say this? Usually the leader sometimes gets sometimes the crap end of the stick,
right?
Because leading a band it's not easy. You know, you're working with other individuals and personalities and stuff, and I hear stories of other bands and how this guy's Iron Fist and all that stuff, and my band, we like to have fun. We like to have fun. We're all laid back dudes. We just want to get together. We want to get the job done. We're all professional, and that's one thing I like about the band that I have right now. The lineup I have right now, everybody's like super talented, awesome guys. We all get along, and everybody brings something to the table. Like everybody brings something different.
Yep.
So it is refreshing to have somebody like, here's a whole song. It's like, oh, cool. I can just learn it. And then if I want to add something, you know what I mean, I can do. Or if I don't,
you're
want
cool
to,
with that.
Either,
you're cool with me adding something cool to this thing that's already cool. Like you said, like hearing like program drums and then giving them to a drummer that played in Jungle Rot. Like, well, what the fuck? This dude's gonna go. You know what I mean? He's just gonna pound it out.
Dude, and we always have this thing, between us where I'll be like, hey man. I'm like, can you? I'll say to Eric, like, can you play what you had on the recording, because that's what I'm used to. And Eric will be like, you gotta stop playing with these, with the full tracks, because I'm gonna play something completely different.
Yeah.
And no, he's an awesome guy too, man. He brings a lot to the table. I don't tell my guys, I don't tell anybody what to do. I don't tell them how to write. I don't do nothing, because I think everybody in the band has their own creative freedom, and to me, that makes a happy band. And that makes guys that want to come to practice and guys that want to, put effort into it. If I was a dick and I said, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you have to play this way and you have to play that this way, I mean, where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that?
Nobody has fun with that shit.
And that's how that's how Morta Skuld was back in the early days. Yeah. We fought riffs. I don't like your riff sucks and your riff sucks. And it was just, the first 4 albums, just a lot of arguing about like really stupid shit.
See, dude, that's
with this band.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, with the guys I have now, it's just, hey, do your thing, man. Do your thing. If Eric wants to blast. If you don't want to, don't. I look at it as each guy, you're all talented enough. You know what you need to do, and do what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
I think as a person in a band, you know what I mean. And like when you're in that element and you're so focused on getting new material out, you're so focused on getting fucking shirt designs or anything like that, things that you're going to argue about, right? The things that you're going to argue about. You get so focused on it instead of stepping back and allowing everybody to breathe. You know what I mean? Like everybody has that extra, their own 2 cents in the thing, man. You give them room to grow and room to breathe and not have like, dude, this is my riff, this is my song, this is the way it is,
It's funny because our extent of the argument is like, hey, what do you think of that? I don't know. All right. I mean, that's really about it. We just don't find it necessary to.
But dude, you said
and fight.
You said it
because when Eric first joined the band, with the bass player at the time, there was a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on, and it was like, you had 3 guys that were really happy and everything was good, and you had this one dude that wasn't happy, and it just the dynamic of the band, it
throws
was just
it way off.
Oh, it's just constant. It was just like, it's like, who wants to do that? It's like, who, so I love the fact that like tonight we started working on a new song, and I had a riff. I didn't share with anybody. I didn't do nothing. I just came in and I said, okay. I said, once at the end of this, I'm going to start playing this. I play it, and so John, our bass player, he wrote the first riff, and I was like, dude, that riff is totally old school. Like, I could have heard that riff in like 1990, and it's so awesome. And then I came up with a riff, and he's like, dude, I love that riff you just did, So, I mean, and here's one thing I know that my guys, if they don't like something, this is how I know. Because I'll present a riff, and if everybody just kind of stands there and kind of just like doesn't play, then I know, like, yeah, okay, they're not into this riff. But as soon as one guy starts playing and everybody kind of starts jumping in, then you're like, okay, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
So we want to have fun, and we want people to come out and have a good experience, and just experience Morta Skuld, because we're a live band. We're a live band. You know what I mean? And that's we've always been a live band. So we're really looking forward to getting that across. I know that we've had some Tim. He has all this different kind of gear now, and so working with like different gear and equipment. I know John's bought a lot of stuff, and so like all three of us are just really, we bought a lot of nice gear and trying to hone some stuff in right now. And and I mean, and that's what we've been doing for the last 6 months. We've been just trying to get that sound where we want it, and you tweak this and tweak that, and just all kinds of stuff. And I'm
leveling up. You're leveling up.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because now I'm like going, God, is this our tones any good? Like I don't know. I won't know until we play out.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be like you'll know by the fans. Like we were teasing about that tonight. Like your tone sucks. Like, we don't like this. No, you suck. You sounded better 3 years ago. I was like, well, I'm waiting for somebody to do that.
Right.
Like, no, that's not what you sound like.
Right.
Like,
go back to the old head. Go back to the old head.
Yeah. I'm a big Line 6 fan, and I played Line 6 for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're just not very reliable, And then of course, being on the road, who wants to carry heads into the room, and especially if you travel, like we do, you can't take a head on the plane with you,
Yeah.
So
right.
So I think you really have to find alternate, ways of getting your tone, and I think we've kind of. I think we're getting real close to that.
So so do you prefer solid state, or do you prefer tube amps?
I personally prefer solid state, and I just read an article about solid state because they said something about the thing that guys who like tubes don't understand about solid state amps, and Chuck Schuldiner played solid state.
Yeah.
Dimebag Darrell played solid state. So there are a lot of guys out there that get really amazing tones out of solid state, but I love solid state. It's just something I've grown accustomed to.
Sure.
When I play in a tube amp, it just doesn't sound right to me because I haven't played with tubes since probably like 98.
Okay.
But like if we go to a festival, like the last show we did was the November before it already. We played Atlanta Death Fest, and we played on Marshalls. And so that's usually the only time that we'll play on tube amps is if there's a festival and they have everything kind of supplied. Like
Backline,
Maryland, we played on the Mesas. Atlanta was Marshalls. Netherlands were PDs. So, and I mean, I love the PD 6505s. I love the Angles, Powerballs. I mean, they're all great amps. I just prefer solid state. That's all.
What are you running right now?
Right now, we've got kind of a unique setup. And the reason why we did this is because traveling. We noticed that we would travel, and it's like, I'm not getting that sound I want, or I'm not getting this out of this. And so the whole goal for like the last 2 years have been to find that travel rig where we can go anywhere. And I believe we found it. So I'm using a Zoom G3N, I think it's called. So just a little, we've got 3 channels. So I'm using that. and I believe we're running the diesel amp model, and then we're running that into a Seymour Duncan Power Stage. So it's kind of little, like put in the backpack. So that's it's a 700 watt power amp.
Oh, nice.
So
that was my
running that, and then
that was my next question. Is like how many watts are you running right now?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's not what we use. I mean, that's what it's capable of.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
So we're going from the Zoom into the power amp, and then from the Zoom into a wireless a wireless. That's it. Just simple.
What do you?
I mean, I can break them apart and I can put them in a backpack.
Nice. Yeah, and like you said, when you're traveling, you can't take heads on the plane, or you gotta special ship the shit, or you gotta do it somewhere.
No.
Pain in the ass.
I even read an article a couple of years ago about the Moore stuff, and there was a couple other amp modeling pedals and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was Opeth. I'm trying to think. Was it Opeth or I can't remember. It was a pretty famous, pretty big band, and they had talked. They have it on YouTube, and they're like, yeah, we use this and this.
That was it.
They go all over the world. They just travel with these two pedals, and they just go through front of house.
Wow.
So that's cool, and that's one thing I like about the Zooms too. If let's say I'm at a festival, I can go through the return of a head and just use it for the power.
Right.
Or I can have him just go direct into the Zoom and just take me front of house.
Wow.
So I mean, it's versatile. And the thing is, we can travel to Europe, we can travel anywhere with these two components, and we know, like, hey, you're gonna get your rhythm channel, because when we went over to Europe last year, I didn't have a solo boost channel. I didn't, it was just, hey, one head, and you just went for it,
Yeah.
So
what type of guitars? What guitar did you? I mean, you said you kind of hot rodded that BC Rich, right? So
Yes.
Where did your growth of guitars go? From the early days till now.
I started off playing BC Rich. I played NJ series was my first guitar. My second guitar was a Warlock, and not the real expensive, the kind of cheaper ones,
Yeah.
It was back in the late '80s.
Sure.
So those are my two first, and then somehow I went from BC Rich to Jackson, and I had a Randy Rhoads V, the RR1, and then I went from, and I had that, and I had two soloists, and I had the V. Somehow, I don't know what happened, got a hair at my ass, sold all that, and then I got some ESP, and I just remembering I didn't like it. I don't know what I didn't like, just something about it I didn't like, but I had it very briefly. And then I sold that, and then I'm trying to think what I moved. Oh, and then that's when we moved on to the Mesa Bernards, which were made at the BC Rich factory. So it was like Bernie Rico had BC Rich, and then somehow, I don't know really what the history is, but then they became MB Mesa Bernard.
Okay.
And those guitars, I played those guitars for like 8 years, and they were like amazing guitars, great. And then what happened was I started having problems just with the necks. Like after years, like the necks just started kind of going to crap. So I was like, oh man, I was like, I really don't want to, don't want to go in anything else. So after those kind of went to hell, then I went back to ESP. I had a couple LTDs,
mm-hmm.
and then I think I even bought a Jackson off of this one dude, and then I sold that. So I kind of went back to LTDs, and then I'd say back in 2005, I switched over to Schecter. And I've been playing Schecter pretty much ever since.
Yeah.
I've got two baritones, and then
what are the two black guitars with the white pinstripe on the outside?
Those are Schecters.
Okay, those are sweet guitars, man.
Yeah. Oh man, one is a Schecter. God, I can't even think of the name now. One's an SLS. And SLS, I can't think of the name now. I'm drawing a blank. Either way, the Blackjack. So one's a Schecter Blackjack, and then one's a Schecter Blackjack SLS. It's just got a thinner body on it. So those have been my two main guitars, and I kind of bought a third one here and there, and then I bought another. Yeah, I know. I bought a standard scale Schecter like 2 years ago, and I didn't like it. And the reason why I didn't like it was because on top of the fretboard, when you look down at the fret markers, they were glow-in-the-dark dots.
Yeah.
Now, that didn't bother me. They had this weird cross pattern, like right next to it. So like certain lights, like you couldn't see.
Wow.
Like the X pattern, like kind of blinded you a little bit. So I didn't like that. So I had sold that guitar, and then I bought the Jackson, and I used that in the studio. I actually used one of my Schecters, and the Jackson is a soloist. It's the Mick Thompson from Slipknot.
Yeah.
It's his signature series, and I got that guitar, and that is a very nice, well built axe. And right now I have my sights on a brand new E2 ESP. So I'm looking forward to getting that in the future.
Did you just post a picture of it just a couple days ago?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty
That's
sexy.
what I'm looking at. I know.
Sexy
I'm like,
machine.
Oh, man, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I love Schecter, and I wanted to stay with just Schecter, but like the new ones they're building are just I don't like the heads. I don't like the new headstocks. And one thing I noticed that a lot of guitar companies aren't doing is no baritone models.
Oh yeah.
And if there is a baritone model, it's like a 7-string or an 8-string, and I'm like, So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that ESP.
Well, that's good. That's fucking awesome, man. So any kind of ideas on names for this new record that you're working on, or are you guys just in the beginning so far?
I don't have a name for the record yet. I do have song titles. So all the 4 songs that are completed all have song titles. So those are all complete.
Badass. I wanted to ask you, do you have any standout tour stories? You've done a bunch of different done a bunch of different festivals, overseas and things like that. Are there any standout tour stories that you can think of?
Oh man. Good, bad, or indifferent? Good, bad, or indifferent,
yes. Whatever sticks out.
I'll say, Maryland, honestly, dude, Maryland Death Fest was the trip. So we get into Maryland Death Fest, and we get in, right? And my buddy Jeremy and Broken Hope, his band was playing, right? They're just about ready to play. And some dude outside, a guy that we had met in California, actually. And that had came to see us, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to take a hit, man?" I was like, "Yeah, sure," and took one, and I'm like, "Oh wow, like, what the hell was in that, dude?" All of a sudden, I'm in the venue, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like you ever see like that the guy in the movie where his head's gonna explode? I'm freaking out. I'm watching Broken Hope, and they're so heavy. They're like freaking me out. Like I really thought my head was just gonna explode. And I'm in there, and I don't know what to do. I don't even want to talk. I can't even talk. I'm like, what's that one? I can't find my way home. I can't find my way home. Pet the furry wall. Pet the furry wall.
Oh yeah.
So I get myself outside of the venue. And these people are like, "Hey, mom," they're talking to me, and I'm not saying nothing. And they're like, "Yeah, well, fuck you too. You're being rude." And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm just really stoned out of my freaking mind right now, and I don't even know where I am.
Yeah.
And I literally I went to they had a little garden. I went and sat in the corner and just sat there and okay, man, this has to end soon. This can't happen, And the worst part about it, at the end of the night. At the time, the bass player I had at the time was AJ, and we wanted to go back to the hotel room. And we thought, what's a couple miles, right? Right through downtown Maryland, dude.
Oh.
People, hey, fucker. Chicks like, hey, honey. I mean, we're like, oh, my God. So we're literally, power walking, like two old ladies. We're, power walking through downtown Maryland as fast as we can. And I'm like, don't look at anybody. Don't look at anybody. Don't say nothing. Just keep your eyes straight and keep going. And we're just, power walking, and we're like, oh, my God. We got back to our room, and we were, scared shitless. It was just, man.
So was the pot just that good or what?
Yeah, it really was. It really was. I really should not have partaken because I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And I mean, the riffs are pounding. I'm like, I can't take this anymore. And I'm waiting for my head to be peeled back and just, Oh my God. Yeah, that was crazy. The Netherlands, what was weird, the Netherlands, when we were in the Netherlands, what was really spooky to me is after we were done playing, we were just like hanging out, throughout the festival and stuff like that. And like every 5 seconds, like somebody wanted to take a picture of us. And that like really weirded me out. Like I've taken pictures before, but like, whoa, like, I mean, can you get a picture? Can you get a picture? I mean, literally, like at one point, I think we had to hide in the corner and like drink our beer. Like, oh, nobody asked for a picture, man. I just want to drink my beer. I just want to drink my beer, man, But very awesome fans, really awesome fans. It was very humbling to be over there after 30 years of not playing in front of the European fans. We played there. They were awesome. They loved it. We loved it. Probably one of the best times I've ever had playing and traveling. Really.
Right. I can imagine that being just phenomenal, because it seems like Europe in its entirety knows what metal, like the worth of metal. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, this was the other humbling part is, so now in Netherlands they have 2 stages. So one band goes on while the other one sets up. So we go into our side, and and we're setting up and stuff, and we're tweaking the amps, and our backs are our backs are to the audience at this point because we're tweaking gear and trying to get our sound and all that. And I didn't even look back, and all of a sudden I just hit a guitar chord, and all of a sudden they're like, I look back, I'm like, oh my God. Like there were like 800 people just standing there, like just waiting, waiting on that first note. And that freaked, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, and as we started playing, the rooms, started getting more full and full. And I'm like, wow, like I literally just did one chord and they were like, it's just,
hell yeah,
very, very humbling experience.
Hell yeah, I can imagine, man. I can imagine. It sounds like you've experienced all the things that a young musician would want to experience. Been very, very blessed during your career, and you said that, and being humble and being thankful for all the things that you've done. That is like the key. And you said it, you alluded to it earlier, is that no matter what rung you're on, just being solid and being cool, you know what I mean, goes so much further than being the guy who needs $1 million check to be on a podcast.
Right. And it really comes down to that. It comes down. It's like you're on the road. Being on the road is tough enough. As most of us know, it's not an easy lifestyle. And so to I guess be a dick on the road, it just doesn't make sense, so you just gotta, you just have to go out there and you just gotta put your humble pants on and just, I shake anybody that buys anything from me knows I always shake their hand after they purchase something, because I really appreciate it, because they can buy from anybody else. They don't have to buy my stuff.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fans that, I appreciate people like you for doing this. I mean, this is cool. We're hanging out on Friday night. We're chit-chatting, and hopefully there's some people listening, and hopefully they enjoy what we do,
Yeah, absolutely, man. So tell people again how they can get a hold of your stuff, how they can listen to it on every platform right now, correct?
Yeah. It's on Spotify, iTunes, I think it was at Dozer or something like that it's called. We do have our own YouTube channel. I don't know the address, but if you go on Google Morta Skuld, you'll see it. And you mentioned earlier about the 1459 doing some live stuff up by you. Well, we did that back in November. We had a club, and Tim's other band Dusk was doing a kind of a live feed, and we were like, hey, can we get in on that? We didn't go live, but he videotaped us a couple different angles, put it together, and we did, I think, like 7 songs, and we did try to do like one song from each album. I mean, obviously we didn't get to do one song from each album, but we did one from Dying Remains, and we did one from this, and one from that, one from this, and then we did a bunch off the new record, and then we just put it together in individual songs. We call it the Chapters sessions, and we put those on YouTube, and we thought, like you're saying, just something for people to see us now and go like, hey, I haven't seen you guys in a while. but here, you can go here, and you haven't seen us live. And it was a little weird performing in front of no people. It was kind of really strange.
Especially like you said, man, being a live band too. It sounds like you in particular, you really thrive off the crowd. The people being up there, feeling the energy in the room. I mean, it really does fuel a musician to to play better. You want to play better to get those people, throwing down.
That's exactly what it's about, So we were, like I said, so we were lucky enough to do that. Like I said, so if people want to see any, footage of us, we got the videos up on the YouTube channel. Our Facebook page, obviously, we have those all posted on the Facebook page. So I know right now, like I said, we're gonna keep writing. I'm hoping that I know there's I think we got a show offer somewhere a little bit later on in the year, so we're hoping that really happens. As well as a possible, if things open up, we're hoping to go on maybe some kind of a small tour, hopefully when things present itself.
Sure.
Once the stars align.
Yeah. They will, man. They will.
I really do because we were really, man, we just had such an awesome momentum going before this happened. And I feel like once this happened, it just stopped us dead in our fucking tracks. And we were like, well, what are we going to do now? And it was like, hey, Tim's like, hey, I got this new song. And then it's kind of like, we just kind of inspired each other. Right. And now here we're almost, we're writing on song number 5. But then also we went back in our back catalog and we relearned a couple of songs. We learned a song off of As Humanity Fades, which we had never done before. And then we also learned another song off of Dying Remains. So we have a really nice, healthy catalog of Dying Remains. Because what I'm hoping to do, I think it's in 2 years, is the 30th anniversary of Dying Remains. We're hoping to play the entirety of the album, hopefully. Yeah. We'll see if it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, it does. But that's kind of just in the back of my mind.
Hell yeah.
And then right now, we just want to keep writing, keep relearning some older songs. So that way, when we do have the opportunity to play out, it's not the same material, Right. Because I noticed that too with us. It's like, we'll play like some of the same songs, and then we'll take 1 or 2 out. Because there are certain songs that people do want to hear, and there's certain songs. But now I think we've really got a nice, healthy. We've got Wounds Deeper Than Time stuff. We've got Suffer for Nothing stuff. We've got Dying Remains stuff. We've got Surface stuff. So we really have a little bit of everything. So I'm hoping the next time we play out, we have a really kick-ass set planned, and people will dig it.
Why don't you let everybody know what that last album that you guys dropped in 2000? What is the name of that album? And
all right, so September of 2020, we released Suffer for Nothing, which is on Peaceville Records. Like I said, you can get Peaceville.com. There's a Bandcamp, too, you can buy it on. But the Bandcamp isn't Morta Skuld. The Bandcamp, I don't know why they did this. The Bandcamp is Suffer for Nothing Bandcamp. Oh, wow. And that will lead you direct to the album if you want a digital download or buy a copy. I know a lot of other distros. Century Media's got it in their distro. Nuclear Blast has it in their distro. So pretty much, you can Google anywhere, but if you want iTunes, it's there. Spotify, it's there. So we pretty much, like you said, all the platforms are pretty much covered.
Badass, man. I appreciate you, man, taking the time to do this stuff. I appreciate
more. I thank you.
Oh,
I thank you because you're the one paying me the $1 million.
Well, hey, man, I'm just trying to keep you. I'm trying to keep you guys up in good spirits so we can get you back out here. You know what I'm saying, man?
I love it. I love it.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, David, and I'm looking forward to this new material. And if anybody, wants to hear some of their old stuff, go back and listen to their old stuff. Listen to how they've grown, through all these years. These guys have been around for a really long time and have a lot of great stuff to offer you guys, man. If you're into death metal from the old school to the new school, and all that new school stuff takes from the old school stuff. If you don't know that, if you start real early, go back to the old school, because that's where we all came from, man. That
you have to go back. You have to go back to go forward.
That's right. Absolutely. Dude, I thank you so much, man. I look forward to doing this again, man. When you guys release again, if you guys get out on tour, you want to do an update, you just want to shoot the shit, dude, I would love to do this again with you.
Absolutely. I'm totally down with that.
Badass, man. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to do some exit stuff, and then
sure.
And we can chat at the very end too. Okay. Anything you want to tell anybody or say anything on the way out here?
just like I mentioned before, go to our YouTube channel, check it out. Go to the Facebook page. We have an Instagram. It's Morta Skuld 1 Official. Just check out stuff. I mean, I'm always updating stuff. I'm always posting either old stuff, new stuff. Just anything. I mean, it's just it's a great source for people to kind of tap into the band and see what we're doing, or see what we've done, or just to stay in touch with everybody. So just go to the Facebook page, hit us up. I'm always good with answering my messages. If people have questions for me or whatever, I'm always available.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, man. Go check out Morta Skuld. Folks, do me a favor. Go over to the Anti-Broadcasting Incorporated Custom Screen Printing. If you're looking to get some T-shirts done, these are the guys to do it, man. They have great pricing. They have great turnaround, fantastic materials they use over there. I know that they do some stuff for drum heads and things like that. Just give them a shout. antibroadcasting@gmail.com, or hit them up, 612-836-9488. If you're looking to do some tattoo work, Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective is a spot you want to hit up. Fantastic people, man. They'll work with you on your art designs, whatever you want to do. Hit them up. Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, lowbrowsaints@gmail, or 612-353-4755. And thank you as always for joining and supporting on this Friday night, on every Friday night. Do me a favor, go to ritualmadnesspodcast.com. You can listen to all the older episodes. We got 223 episodes out there. Lots of good music, lots of good underground music, lots of great bands. Check them out. Show them some love. Make sure to support your local music scene, man. We need it all right now. We need you guys to go out and find those videos, buy the merchandise from all these local bands. Get out there. Show them some love. Make sure it all happens. I appreciate you 1,000 times over. Thank you very much. Please, pay attention. Stick around. Be good to each other. Fucking have a good night. Peace out.
Ritual Madness Podcast. Ritual Madness Podcast. Ritual Madness Podcast. Ritual Madness Podcast.